All right, I'll drive. The two of them drove to the vintage market together. The vintage market is always packed on weekends. Irvin was a well-known figure there and had his own regular stall, so Charlie spotted him right away. At that moment, Irvin was holding a fake emerald pendant, bragging to a couple of tourists. He was in the middle of a grand story. I'm telling you, this pendant is a treasure once worn by the great Corbin Adler during the ancient era. Later, when he passed away near Eastcliff, this very pendant fell into the hands of Cole Garrett. After Cole Garrett was defeated, his grandson took the pendant and fled. After a long and complicated journey, it finally ended up with me. That impressive? The middle-aged man asked in surprise. How much for the pendant? Irvin grinned. I can tell you have a connection to this piece. So for you, I'll let it go for $180,000. Once you leave the vintage market, you could take it to an auction house and sell it for $1.8 million. The woman rolled her eyes. If you could sell it for 10 times the price just by walking out of here, why don't you do it yourself? Do you think we're idiots? Seriously, honey, let's go. After she spoke, the woman pulled her husband away. Irvin muttered a curse under his breath. Damn, when did tourists get so sharp? Seeing this, Charlie walked over with a smile. Hey, Irvin, still pulling the same old scams? When Irvin saw Charlie, his face lit up. He rushed over, bowing slightly. Mr. Wade, what brings you here today? Then he glanced at Claire, who was standing beside Charlie, and exclaimed, Oh, and this must be Mr. Wade's wife, right? She's absolutely stunning. Charlie said, Cut the flattery. I'm here to see you about something. I heard you want to buy my father-in-law's penholder for $300,000. Yes! Irvin nodded eagerly and said with excitement, Your father-in-law is a genius. He found such a hidden gem. That penholder is worth at least $300,000 or $400,000. It's incredible. Charlie pulled Irvin aside and said in a low voice, Don't mess with me. Anyone at the vintage market can see that the penholder is a fake. The only one who can't is my father-in-law. Why would you offer $300,000 for something you know is worthless? Tell me the real reason. Irvin said hurriedly, Mr. Wade, you've got a sharp eye. To be honest, I was just trying to show you some respect. Last time, your father-in-law brought me those 2 magical medicines to resell, and I made $1 million or 2 off them. The more I thought about it, the more it didn't sit right with me. I mean, I made a ton of money off the medicine you created, Mr. Wade. It just didn't feel right, you know? As he spoke, Irvin smiled sheepishly. So I was trying to find a way to share some of the profits with you, Mr. Wade. I know you don't care about money, so I figured I'd do it through your father-in-law. Charlie sneered. Yeah, right, Irvin. You scammed my father-in-law out of the magical medicine I gave him. You made millions, and you think you can make it right by throwing $300,000 at him for a worthless penholder? Irvin shivered with fear. Mr. Wade, please forgive me. If you're not happy, I'll give you the money back, all of it. I just want to stay on your good side. Irvin knew he couldn't afford to get on Charlie's bad side. He was well aware that Charlie was a very powerful man now. A lot of important people looked up to him as a master. He'd even heard that Charlie had taken down some of the top spiritual gurus from San Francisco, so all he wanted was to please him. Charlie glanced at Irvin and said flatly, Forget it. My father-in-law doesn't know the true value of the pill, and he thinks he pulled a fast one on you. He deserves to be fooled. After a pause, he looked at Irvin and said, We'll let this go, but I might have a use for you when I'm dealing with antiques in the future. When that time comes, you'd better be on your toes. Understand? Irvin immediately lit up with excitement. Mr. Wade, don't you worry. From now on, I'm your guy. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Seeing Irvin's reaction, Charlie nodded, satisfied. Irvin was a sharp guy, quick-witted and resourceful. He could definitely be useful in the future. So he said to Irvin, If you do right by me in the future, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Irvin eagerly put his hands together. Mr. Wade, don't you worry. From now on, Whatever you say, goes." Seeing his over-the-top flattery, Charlie shook his head and smiled. "Your shamelessness is something else." Irvin grinned. "Mr. Wade, my methods might not be pretty, but the money sure is." As he spoke, he pulled a black box out from under his stall, handed it to Charlie, and said, "Mr. Wade, this is $300,000 in cash. Take a look." Charlie waved his hand and said, "No need, I'm leaving." Irvin asked, "Aren't you going to look around the vintage market?" "No," Charlie said. "Out of 10,000 things here, 9,999 are fakes. What's the point?" Irvin nodded. "All right then. Take it easy. I'm about to close up shop myself." Charlie asked curiously, "Why are you closing up already?" Irvin explained, "I need to go pick up some new inventory at the flea market. Nobody's buying fake diamonds anymore. Everyone's into fake silver dollars these days. You can get a fake Morgan silver dollar at the flea market for a dime, wholesale, and I can turn around and sell it for $1,000 or $2,000. When Claire heard this, she was shocked. A dime for $1,000 or $2,000? Isn't that just cruel? Irvin scratched his head. "You don't understand. That's just how business is done at the vintage market. If I started selling things for what they're actually worth, the other dealers would kill me." Charlie said with a sigh, "Can't you just try to run an honest business?" Irvin said with a pained expression, "Mr. Wade, if I don't run scams at the vintage market, I'd literally starve to death." Charlie said helplessly, "Forget it. You can manage it yourself." After that, since the flea market was on his way home anyway, he said to Irvin, "Come on, I'll give you a ride." Irvin couldn't believe Mr. Charlie Wade would actually offer to drive him. He immediately said with excitement, "Mr. Wade, you're really doing me a huge favor. Thank you, thank you." Charlie waved his hand. "All right, enough of that. Get in the car." As the car pulled away from the vintage market, the sky suddenly grew dark. A thunderstorm rolled in, followed by a heavy downpour. It had been a rainy summer, with storms popping up constantly these past few days, and some parts of the city were already starting to flood. The rain was coming down hard, and the traffic report on the radio warned drivers that the underpasses on several main roads had serious flooding and were closed. Because of that, Charlie had no choice but to take a detour around the outskirts of the city. During the drive, Irvin was a mix of excitement and nervousness. Sitting in the back row, he discreetly snapped a picture of Charlie's profile while he was driving and posted it on social media with a caption to show off, "Your boy is lucky enough to get a ride in Mr. Wade's car." A lot of people commented immediately. The messages were all pretty much the same. "Dude, no way! You actually know Mr. Wade? Don't forget about us when you make it big." Irvin's ego swelled with pride. Charlie wasn't driving fast. As he passed a quiet side street, his eyes were suddenly drawn to a car parked on the shoulder. It was an old black luxury car, parked crookedly on the side of the road, and a woman had just hurried out of it. He could see that both of the car's front tires were flat. It looked like she had a real problem. Charlie didn't plan on getting involved and was just going to drive on by. But just then, Claire happened to see the car out the window and the woman who had gotten out of it. She did a double take and then shouted, "Charlie, isn't that Elsa? Stop the car, now!" Charlie immediately stopped the car. Claire grabbed an umbrella and pushed the door open to get out. Seeing this, Charlie quickly followed her. "Elsa, what happened?" Claire called out as she ran over. "Claire? What are you doing here?" Elsa was shivering in the rain. She looked up and was surprised to see Claire. She seemed both surprised and extremely embarrassed, as if she didn't want her friend to see her in such a mess. Claire held the umbrella over Elsa and said, "I was just passing by with Charlie and saw you." "What's wrong?" Elsa said, annoyed. "Don't even ask. The company had me out making sales calls and gave me this car. I was on my way to see a client, and before I even got there, a tire went flat, and I just checked, and it looks like the other one is flat too. I'm so mad." Charlie was a little puzzled. It's normal to get a flat tire, but usually you run over a nail or some other sharp object, and only one tire gets punctured. Having both tires go flat at the same time felt a bit off. So he said to Elsa, "The rain's getting heavier, and it's not safe for you to stay here alone. It's better if you come back to the city with us for now. You can leave your car here, and when the rain stops, you can call for help to get it towed." Elsa nodded and sighed. "I guess that's my only option." Charlie was about to lead her back to the car, but at that moment, his sharp hearing caught the sound of something cutting through the air. He immediately saw a flash of silver streaking through the heavy rain, and it was headed straight for Elsa. Without even thinking, Charlie reached out and pulled Elsa into his arms. At the exact same moment, with a loud sound, a sharp throwing knife embedded itself in the hood of Elsa's car. The blade was as thin as a leaf, sharp and gleaming, and it was still vibrating from the impact. The hood of the car is made of hard metal, but this extremely thin combat knife sliced into it like it was tofu. Everything went silent. Everyone's eyes were glued to the flying knife. Luckily, Charlie had saved her just in time. The flying knife, which had been aimed right at Elsa's chapel, had brushed against her cheek. The sharp blade sliced off a few strands of her hair. It was terrifyingly close. Even though Elsa came from a well-known family and had been through a lot, she couldn't help but scream. A moment later, 2 more flashes of cold steel came flying at them. Charlie frowned, spun around with Elsa in his arms, and instantly dodged the 2 deadly knives. The flying knives were thrown with incredible force. If it weren't for the power he'd gained from the mystic texts, he never would have been able to save Elsa, let alone protect himself. Elsa was in shock. She couldn't believe someone wanted her dead, especially here in Oris Hill. But what she really couldn't get over was that Charlie had saved her life. Twice. At that moment, Charlie held Elsa close, his expression turning cold as he looked out into the curtain of rain. He saw an SUV parked a short distance away. Someone inside was staring at him, completely stunned, as if they couldn't believe he'd managed to save Elsa from their knife attack. "Who's this kid? How dare he ruin our fun?" 2 figures got out of the SUV. The men had a murderous look about them as they started walking toward Charlie.